Hello, everybody. This is Alan Urizar, and welcome to another workshop, Just One Time workshop. Today, I'm going to be talking about a very important topic, and it doesn't apply to all the sellers because of the type of products that we recommend and the type of products that we're always looking for. Not this Prop 65 doesn't apply to everything, but we did want to cover it so if maybe you're looking at a product and if it follows or falls within these categories, then you know what to do and what are the things that are required by Amazon. So let me go to my presentation. Oh, by the way, if you wanna have access to this presentation, because I do share a few links for history and other resources. If you're watching this video in the YouTube channel, just go to the description and you should see a link that is going to take you to the slides, to the presentation slides. Or if you're watching in another page, you should be able to have access to those to that link, so you can have access to the slides. So let me go and share my screen real quick, and I'm going to start the presentation. So California Prop 65, how it affects Amazon sellers, and what do you need to do if your product falls within these criteria or these categories. So the first thing that we want to know is what is Proposition 65. In 1986, California voters approved Proposition 65 and initiated to address their growing concerns about exposure to toxic chemicals. That initiative is officially known as the Safe Drinking Water and Toxic Enforcement Act of 1986. The law requires California to publish a list of chemicals known to cause cancer or reproductive toxicity, and for businesses with 10 or more employees to provide warnings when they knowingly and intentionally cause significant exposure to listed chemicals. So there's a list of chemicals that follow, within this proposition, and the list currently includes more than 850 chemicals, and Proposition 65 does not ban or restrict the sale of the chemicals on the list. The warnings are intended to help Californians to make informed decisions about their exposure to these chemicals from the products they use and the places they go. So the first question that comes to my mind is, if I don't live in California, what do I care? Well, if you are selling products that have these chemicals, and there's a link in the description, so you can go and get the list of all the different chemicals. If your product has any of those chemicals, and you're gonna be selling in the U.S. and you're gonna be including, hopefully selling people in California, then the products need to have that warning in order for you to be compliant and don't get in trouble if somebody complains or sue you. So that's why it's important for all of us that are selling in the U.S. market. We have to have these warnings if our product has any of these chemicals. So the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, or the OEHHA, administers this Proposition 65 program. That's the entity that is going to be, or the office that is going to be working around this program. And so what are the most significant changes to the Proposition 65 warning for consumer products? And what happens is that there's been a change in the last few years from the original warnings that were issued in 1986. So now there's been changes, and we want to make sure that we know all of these changes. So since the original warning requirements took effect in 1988, most Proposition 65 warnings simply stated that the chemical is present that causes cancer or reproductive harm, but they do not identify the chemicals or provide specific information about how a person might be exposed or ways to reduce to eliminate the exposure to it. Now, the new regulations adopted in August 2016, and they took full effect in August 2018, which was a few months ago. They changed the safe harbor warnings, which are deemed to comply with the law in several important ways. For example, the new warnings for consumer products will say the product can be can expose you to, and Proposition 65, chemicals, rather than saying that the product contains the chemical. So those are some of the changes. And they will also include the name of at least one listed chemical that prompted the warning. The internet address for the OEHHA new proposition warnings website is p65warnings.ca.gov, which includes additional information on the health effects, the list of the chemicals, and all the different ways to reduce or eliminate exposure to them. So you can, if you open this document, you'll be able to click on that link and go to that website. And the other change is also a triangular yellow warning symbol on most warnings. Now, what are the other highlights of the new warning system? The new warning system regulations also adds tailored warnings that provide more specific information for certain kinds of exposures, products, and places. It provides for website warning and products purchased over the internet. It provides for warning in languages other than English in some cases, and it clarifies the roles and responsibilities of the manufacturers and the retailers in providing warnings. So now it's a more unified, work that we have to do, not just the manufacturers, not just the retailers or the owners of those products. So how do the new warnings compare to the current warnings? A typical current Proposition 65 warning states, warning, this product contains a chemical known to the state of California to cause cancer. That's the typical warning right now. A sample of the warning, a new warning could look like this. Warning, this product can expose you to chemicals including arsenic, which is known to the state of California to cause cancer. And for more information, go to this website. So now the warnings are including the website. For more information, they also are including at least one name of a chemical. If it has multiple chemicals, at least one. And it's warning people that people can be exposed to these chemicals by purchasing that product. So why are the Proposition 65 warnings changing? In 2013, Governor Edmund Brown Jr. proposed reforms to strengthen the Proposition 65. The governor called for these changes to require more useful information to the public on the way that they're being exposed and how they can protect themselves. He added this is an effort to improve the law so it can do what it's intended to do, protect Californians from harmful chemicals. And in 2015, UC Davis researchers interviewed more than 1,500 randomly selected Californians and asked them to compare the new specific warnings to the current generic warnings, and the results were dramatic. 77% said that the new warnings would be more helpful than the current system. So those are some of the main reasons why they're changing all these warnings so they can be more helpful for people that are reading those. So they're not generic for everybody anymore, or any product anymore. What are the goals of the new warnings? The new warning system has several main goals. These include making warnings more meaningful and useful for the public, reducing overwarning, in which businesses provide unnecessary warnings. So some businesses they put too many warnings, and also giving businesses clear guidelines on how and where to provide the warnings. And then when will these changes take effect? In August 2016, the Office of the Administrative Law approved the new regulations for improved Proposition 65 warnings. the business can currently choose whether to provide the old warning or the new warning as part of the regulations for 2 years in that phase. So that was those 2 years ended in 2018 in August, and that's why now everything needs to change to the new warnings. So beginning August 30th, 2018, the old warning system will expire, and the business that want safe harbor protection that deems them in compliance with Proposition 65 will use the new warning system. Now, we have to understand this. Or the business are going to have safe harbor protection against any disputes or anything. But the next question, or one of the questions that we're going to cover, is if this is mandatory or not. But before we cover that, what is the purpose of the new Proposition 65 warning website? So now the website this office launched a new website, which is p65warnings.ca.gov, to provide the public with more information on chemicals, products, and locations associated with Proposition 65 warnings. So the public can have more information if they need, or if they want to get more information on everything about all of these warnings and chemicals and all that. And the website is also part of the state's effort to provide Californians with more useful information on chemicals they being exposed and the ways to protect themselves. People who read Proposition 65 warnings and want to learn more can go to that website and find information about all the chemicals, the best practices for reducing or eliminating exposure. And the website contains fact sheets about Proposition 65, chemicals, and specific types of exposure, such as from furniture products or enclosed parking facilities, etc. It also answers frequently asked questions about Proposition 65 and includes a glossary of all the different terms that people need to know. So there's a lot of information now that is being provided to the public, and you as a manufacturer, as a product owners, we need to know all of these in case our product falls within any of these categories. So will business be required to provide the new warnings? And that was the question I was asking before, and the answer is no. The regulation states that the business is not required to use the new safe harbor warning system to comply with the law. However, using the safe harbor warnings is an effective way for businesses to protect themselves against enforcement actions. So that's why it's important to comply with that and do the changes, because we do want to be under that safe harbor warning. Businesses that use the safe harbor warnings are deemed compliant with the law's requirement for clear and responsible warnings. And then businesses have the option to provide different warnings if they believe they can comply with the law. Additionally, small businesses fewer than 10 employees are exempt from Proposition 65 warnings requirements. So if you wouldn't be selling on Amazon and you have less than 10 employees, you will be exempt from any of these requirements. Will products manufactured before August 2018 need to use the new warnings? The answer is no. Also, all these products manufactured before August 30th, 2018 will not need the new warnings if they meet the requirements that were in effect at the time of the production. So we don't have to worry about that, just on the new productions that we run. Will special warnings approved by courts in previous legal settlements remain in effect? Yes. The regulation says that the OEHHA recognizes court-ordered settlements and judgments that impose specific Proposition 65 warnings. Next question is, what circumstances will require warnings in languages other than English? When a consumer product sign, label, or shelf tag used to provide a warning includes consumer information in a language other than English, the warning must also be provided in the language in addition to English. And this is I don't think this affects all of us because we're selling directly on Amazon. But for example, for a manufacturer or a company or a brand that is selling in a shelf, in a physical store, if they're selling, for example, to an Indian market or a Chinese market or a Spanish market, where their signs are in other languages, they also will require the warnings to be in the proper language as well. And facilities that provide signage in non-English languages will also have to provide any required warnings in those languages in addition to English. So it is not either or, it's in addition to English. And for internet purchases, warnings can be provided by including a clear marked hyperlink using the word warning on the product display page, which is, in our case, we don't have to worry about that because Amazon takes care of that. But for any other e-commerce, you will need to have a warning with a hyperlink going to having that warning and giving more information on that. So now, which exposures, products, and places have a specific tailored warnings? In addition to the warnings for chemical exposures from consumer products, the new regulations provide a specific warning for exposures from alcoholic beverage, food and non-alcoholic beverages, prescription drugs, dental care, wood dust, furniture products, diesel engines, vehicles, and recreational vessels. Enclosed parking facilities, amusement parks, petroleum products, service stations, and vehicle repair facilities, and designated smoking areas. Can business request additional tailored warnings? Yes, the regulation allows businesses to request new tailored warnings pursuant to Government Code Section 11340.6 and 11340.7. But that's not, I don't think that's, concerns all of us. But I wanted to give you all the information that I was able to find using all of these resources. Now, what are the warning responsibilities for manufacturers and retailers? The new system clarifies that manufacturers have the primary responsibility for providing Proposition 65 warnings, and manufacturers can choose whether to put warning labels on the products or provide notices to the distributors, importers, or retail outlets that the product might cause an exposure to a listed chemicals that require warning, provide warning signs or other warning materials. So you can either put it on your product or have distributors or retail outlets have those warnings in their materials. Manufacturers can also enter a written agreement with retailers to modify this allocation of responsibility as long as the consumer receives a clear and reasonable warning before he or she is exposed to a Proposition 65 chemical. So there's a couple different options that we can use to provide those warnings. And also retailers must confirm that they received the notice and must be warning. They must use the warning signs or other materials provided by the manufacturer. Now, are these regulations, are there any other regulations to assist business with warnings requirements? Yes, in addition to other forms and compliance assistance, this office, OEHHA, has regulations that set procedures for requesting advice from the agency, including interpretive guidelines and use and safe use determinations. In some cases, the OEHHA might issue an interpretive guideline that clarifies warning requirements with regards to specific facts. And current interpretive guidelines apply to consumption of sulfur dioxide and dry fruits, chlorothalonil and tomato products, consumption of methanol from pectin that occurs naturally in fruits and vegetables, and hand-to-mouth transfer of lead through exposure to consumer products and fishing tackle. And then if you want to get more information, you can click on this link, and it's going to give you a lot more information regarding those kind of products. So I'm not sure, or I don't think any of us are going to end up doing groceries or doing any kind of, those kind of products. But if you are thinking, or if you think that one day you might end up in these kind of categories, you want to make sure that you follow these all of these directions and you comply with Proposition 65 warnings. There's also procedure for requesting a safe use determination. A safe use determination is a written statement issued by the OEHHA that interprets whether a specific set of exposures require warnings. So here's another website that you can, or another link that you can use to get more information on that specific topic. And the next thing is how to provide Proposition 65 warnings for your products. So for all existing and new product listings, and this is now on the Amazon side. So Amazon gives you some instructions on how to provide Proposition 65 warnings on your products. So for all existing and new product listings, you have the obligation to determine if the product needs a Proposition 65 warning and provide a warning as required by California law and this policy. Even if your existing listing contains a Proposition 65 warning, if you created that listing before May 2018 or May 30, 2018, you are required to update the listing no longer than August 1st, 2018. And if you haven't done it, just go ahead and do it before Amazon sends you a letter or suppress that listing because it's not updated yet. But we everybody or any seller having a product that requires the Proposition 65 warning should have been needs to do these updates. For any list that you don't update by August 2018, you agree no warnings are needed, and we may remove any existing warnings on those listings. But if you haven't done it, I would recommend that you do it. That way you comply with everything instead of Amazon thinking that you agree that there's no warnings needed. What if the product listing needs a Proposition 65 warning? If your product listing needs a Prop 65 warning, you can also provide us with the correct warning with the method described below. Here's the way that you do it. Existing product listings, regardless of how you created the original listing, you are required to use one of the methods described below under new product listing to update your listing with Prop 65 warnings. If you receive an email from Amazon Product Compliance asking you to update certain listings, please follow the instructions included on that email. But if your listing do not require any warning, you don't have to do any further action. But if it does, what you need to do is, hold on. In the rare case that where a court requires you to provide a specific Prop 65 warning for products, then you must contact seller support to provide them with such warning. If you're not the manufacturer of the product you are listing, you must provide Amazon with a Prop 65 warning they have received from the manufacturer of the product. In our case, we become the manufacturer, so we have to make sure that we have all of these warnings in place. And you may also provide Amazon with Proposition of Prop 65 warning. I'm sorry, you may not provide Amazon with Prop 65 warnings in any other way. For example, sending them an email. They're not going to take that. They will want you to update the listing, or in case that you, if you get an email from Amazon, then just following the directions that the email gives you. So you may not provide Amazon with any warning material such as labels, labeling, shelf signs, or any tags to display any products unless Amazon themselves instruct you to do anything in writing. So you may only provide Prop 65 warnings for any applicable child SKUs, and will not be available or will not be able to provide Prop 65 warnings for a parent SKU. If you provide a Prop 65 warning on a parent SKU, you will receive an error message. So anything that if you do when you do the updates, it needs to be on a child SKU. That way, it's not going to work. So for new product listings, use the following methods to provide Prop 65 warnings when creating single or multiple listings in Seller Central. As mentioned before, you may only provide Prop 65 warnings for any applicable child SKUs. When creating a single listing in Seller Central, first you want to go to the inventory, select Add Product, and then click on Create New Product Listing. Go to the Compliance tab, and then select the appropriate California Prop 65 warning type. And if needed, the associated California Prop chemical name, and you can see the table below for the warning types and the explanation of the warning and what will be displayed on each type. So here it is. This is the Compliance tab, where you're going to find the California Prop warning type and also the chemical name. And you can add it right in there. And for the California for the type, this is all the different options that you're gonna need if your product has any of these. So if it's an alcoholic beverage, if it's a chemical, diesel engine, or food, furniture, on the product cancer, these are the different warning types that you need to select. You need to select one that is appropriate for your product. What if your product listing needs a Prop 65 warning? I'm sorry. This is continuing with this. If you are creating multiple listings in Seller Central, and you wanna do it via uploading a file, you can go to Inventory and then select Add Products via Upload, and then select the applicable product classification and generate an advanced template. In the template, you will find the California Prop 65 attributes under the compliance group, and then you can select the appropriate California type and the chemical name in there. So this is a sample of how it will look if you're doing it in a template document that you can download and then upload with several products. This is something very important. If you use custom feeds to create your listing, you must supplement those listings information and use either methods above to add the proposition 65. So it's very important that you do this if you're doing the custom feeds to create the listing. And how do you know if your product needs a Prop 65 warning? If your product falls under any of these types of products listed below, regardless of the category: food, furniture, chemicals, alcohol beverage, raw food, passengers of or off-road vehicles, and recreational vessels. Those are the different types of products that are they're gonna need a warning regardless of the category. Diesel engines as well. So here's the California Prop 65 warning types. If you select food, furniture, or chemical warning type, then you must also select at least one chemical name. You may not select more than 5 chemical names, but I think one chemical name is the requirement. So you can just do one, and that should be enough to comply. So here's the California Prop warning types: food, furniture, chemical, and here's let me go back here so you can see all of these. And again, if you wanna have these more in more details, you can just click on the link that I provided, and you're gonna have access to all of these slides, so you can kind of have all of these, so you can read it more carefully and make sure that you don't have anything that falls in these categories or these type of products. And also warning types. If your product has one of the following on-product warning printed or affixed to the product, or it contains or container or wrapper, then you must select one of these following warning types. And you might not select any chemical, or you don't need to select any chemical name. And that's going to be on-product cancer, on-product reproductive, or a combination of both. So you need to have this warning cancer and then the website, or the other examples in here. If your product is an alcoholic beverage, raw wood, or a passenger or off-road vehicle, a recreational vessel, or includes a diesel engine, you must select the relevant warning types, and you may not select a chemical name as well. And here's all the information for this type of warnings as well. So you can go back again to the slides and kind of look at this a little bit more if you like. Again, for any additional background on the warning times, and all these different warnings and types and chemicals, you can go to this website right here. And also for all other questions, if you have any questions, if something is not clear, or you need more clarification, please contact the seller support, the Amazon seller support. They're gonna be the most correct way for you to get your questions answered in regards to this topic. They're gonna have the right information for you. So for background information about Proposition 65, here's some information that we already talked about, and also all the different links that I talk about in the presentation, and you can go to any of these links to get more information regarding that. So this is the presentation, guys. I wanted to cover all of these because I wanted to make sure that in case that any of you are, doing any kind of products where anything like this applies, then you will have a little bit more information to be able to make sure that you have all of the things that you need in order to comply with these regulations and these warnings. Other than that, just let us know if you have any questions on the Facebook group. And if you have questions specific to Proposition 65, I would recommend that you contact seller support, ask them regarding your specific product or a specific question, and they should be able to help you with this. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next webinar. Take care.